There are mornings when your soul wakes up long before your body does, when sunlight touches your face, yet your limbs remain anchored to the mattress, as though gravity itself has doubled in strength. The alarm rings. The world expects you to rise, but something unseen pins you down with a weight that isn't found in flesh or bone. And in that moment, a quiet fear whispers through your spirit. Why can't I move? What's happening to me? But hear me now. You are not lazy, and you are certainly not weak. What you are facing is a war so subtle, so silent, that even you sometimes fail to recognize its intensity. Your bed, the very place designed for rest and recovery, has transformed into the front line of a spiritual battlefield. The sheets that once comforted you now feel like restraints, and the stillness of your room echoes louder than any chaos outside. You carry burdens no one else sees, burdens that don't show on your skin, burdens that cannot be described without trembling, burdens that weigh not on your muscles, but on your very breath. This is not ordinary fatigue. This is spiritual depletion, the kind that comes from fighting invisible wars, the kind that creeps into your dreams and follows you into your waking hours. People see your body lying there and assume you are simply resting, but they have no idea that beneath the silence, entire storms are raging within you. They do not hear the thoughts that ricochet like arrows in your mind before you even open your eyes. They do not feel the heaviness that settles on your chest like a stone. They do not witness the trembling of your soul as it tries desperately to hold on to one more day of survival. And the cruelest part, the enemy knows how to strike where eyes cannot see, how to attack the chosen ones in quiet moments, under the covers, away from witnesses. Yet even in that darkness, there is one who does not leave. Even in the heaviness, even in the paralysis, God is there, closer than your breath, sitting at the edge of your bed, watching over you as gently as a father watches over a sleeping child. He is not pacing. He is not frustrated with your slowness. He is not disappointed in your exhaustion. He is simply present, quietly guarding you in the very moment you feel most alone. The world may call this a breaking point, but heaven calls it a sacred pause, a holy moment where God meets you in stillness to prepare you for what is ahead. Because what you feel right now is not your defeat. It's the tremor before breakthrough. It's the whisper before the roar. But the enemy has twisted this moment, trying to make you believe you're failing because you're tired. He tries to convince you that your inability to move means you've given up, when in truth, every breath you're taking is an act of resistance. People who judge your stillness have no idea how many times you've saved yourself in silence, how many times you've fought back tears in the dark, how often you've prayed with a voice so faint it barely escaped your lips. They cannot comprehend what it costs you to get through a single morning. They don't know that waking up itself is a victory. They don't understand that lying in bed isn't surrender, it's survival. They don't see the battles happening beneath the blankets, the war playing out behind your closed eyelids. They don't see how many times you've wanted to run, how many times you've felt the urge to disappear, how many times you've whispered, "God, I can't do this anymore." They only see the surface, and the surface lies. The surface hides the truth that beneath your exhaustion is a spirit that refuses to die, a soul that continues to rise even when the body cannot. And heaven sees this, heaven honors this. Because while the world measures strength by movement, God measures it by endurance, by the quiet, stubborn decision to stay alive one more day. You are not collapsing. You are being stripped of what was never meant to stay. You are not failing. You are being refined. The silence is not abandonment. It is preparation. Think of David in the wilderness, Moses in the desert, Elijah in the cave. Before God revealed glory, there was always a moment of stillness, so deep it felt like suffocation. Chosen ones often face the quietest battles before the loudest breakthroughs. This moment, this heaviness, is the birthplace of transformation. You feel alone only because heaven is working in a realm your eyes cannot yet see. The enemy wants you to interpret your stillness as stagnation, but God sees it as incubation. A seed is buried before it grows. A warrior is trained before they conquer. A chosen one is pressed before they are released. And you, right now, are in that divine pressing. Not to destroy you, but to pull out of you the oil that only crushing can produce. You've been fighting battles nobody else knows about, carrying weights no one else would survive. Yet, here you are, still breathing, still watching, still seeking God, even from the battlefield of a bed. And listen, if you felt drawn to this message, if something in your spirit whispered, "This is for me," then understand this truth. It's not an accident. You were guided here. Heaven orchestrated this moment to remind you that you're not forgotten, not failing, not forsaken. There is purpose in your pause. There is meaning in your stillness. There is prophecy in your survival. And in the next part of this message, you will understand why this war is so personal, why the enemy is so determined to drain your strength and silence your movement. Because once you see what he's trying to keep you from, you will never view your exhaustion the same way again. Something is coming, chosen one. Something bigger than the suffering. Something brighter than the darkness. Something crafted by God himself. Stay with me. Your breakthrough is closer than your breath. They told you that if you had stronger faith, you wouldn't feel this tired. That if you really trusted God, you wouldn't be lying there, numb, overwhelmed, or unable to rise. They tried to convince you that spiritual strength means smiling through the storms, praying non-stop without ever feeling dry, and standing tall without ever showing weakness. But that isn't truth. That's performance. And God never asked you to perform. What you're facing isn't a failure of faith. It's a sign that you've been standing on the front lines of a spiritual war for far too long without the reinforcement your soul desperately needs. Even the chosen ones, even the anointed ones, even the ones called from their mother's womb eventually grow weary. Exhaustion doesn't disqualify you. It reveals that you've been carrying something sacred, something heavy, something far beyond the ordinary weight most people experience. Let's make this clear. Even the strongest servants of God collapsed under the weight of their calling. Elijah, the prophet who called fire down from heaven in front of an entire nation, yes, that Elijah, ran into the wilderness, laid under a tree, and begged God to take his life. He wasn't weak. He wasn't lacking faith. He was depleted after confronting darkness on a scale the human heart wasn't designed to carry alone. Then there's Jeremiah, a man so sensitive to God's voice that he could feel the spiritual condition of an entire nation in his bones. He wept so deeply and so often that generations remembered him as the weeping prophet. And even Jesus, yes, even the Messiah himself, fell to the ground in Gethsemane, overwhelmed by sorrow to the point of death, sweating drops of blood as he cried out to the Father. If the Son of God himself experienced the crushing weight of his assignment, what makes you think your fatigue means you're failing? No, chosen one. Your fatigue is not your downfall. It is your evidence. Evidence that you've been fighting battles no one sees. Evidence that your spirit has been interceding, carrying, lifting, wrestling with assignments far greater than your physical strength. Evidence that your heart has been pouring itself out for others, often without receiving anything in return. And that hidden, quiet exhaustion, the kind that creeps into your bones and drains your breath. It's not because you're doing something wrong. It's because you are carrying something holy. People around you see the smile, the strength, the endurance, but they don't see the cost. They don't see how often you pray for others who never pray for you. They don't see the nights you stay awake interceding for people who wouldn't think twice about walking away if you ever needed them. They don't see that you show up even when your soul feels like it's unraveling thread by thread. They see consistency, but they have no idea of the silent battles that consistency requires. And while they may mistake your quietness for avoidance or your stillness for weakness, heaven sees something entirely different. What the world calls fragility, heaven calls warfare. What the world calls burnout, heaven calls resistance. Because chosen ones do not always fight with swords. Sometimes, your greatest act of spiritual strength is simply choosing to stay alive one more day, to breathe again tomorrow, to refuse the lies whispering in your mind, to hold on to even a flicker of hope when darkness tries to smother you. Your spirit is refusing to surrender even when your body can't move. And that, chosen one, is a victory heaven celebrates. But understand this, chosen ones are not born with spiritual armor. They are forged, pressed, stretched, drained, purified. You've been pushed to your emotional, mental, and spiritual limits, not because you are weak, but because your calling cannot be carried by the average. You have been crushed, not to be destroyed, but to release the oil buried deep within you. Your exhaustion is the evidence that God trusted you with something weighty, something precious, something that demands a soul strengthened by fire. Yet here is the part that shifts everything. You were never meant to carry all of this alone. Not even Jesus carried his cross alone. Simon was called to help him. So, why do you keep trying to prove your strength in silence? Why do you keep pretending you're okay when your spirit is bleeding behind closed doors? Why do you keep believing that needing rest means you're not worthy of your calling? That exhaustion you feel is not an indictment of your faith. It's an invitation to stop pretending, to stop pushing yourself past your breaking point, to stop performing spiritual strength for people who wouldn't last a day in your shoes. It is an invitation to slow down, to let go, to stop carrying what was never yours to bear alone, to crawl into the presence of the one who sees the collapse behind your eyes and does not call you weak for it. Because there is a kind of rest the world cannot give, a rest that does not require physical energy, a rest that sinks into the deepest parts of your soul and whispers peace where anxiety once roared. It's the rest that Jesus spoke of when he said, "Come to me, all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." Not performance, not perfection, rest. And when you finally surrender, not as defeat but as trust, something inside you shifts, not loudly, not dramatically. Sometimes it happens in a sigh, in a tear, in the quiet collapse that becomes your altar. Sometimes the shift comes in the stillness between your pleading and God's answer. Sometimes it comes while your chest still aches and your eyes are still swollen. But it comes. And when it does, you begin to see that this exhaustion is not the end of your journey, but the threshold of transformation. In the next part, we're going to expose something even deeper. The real enemy isn't always the world around you. Sometimes the battle comes from the whispers inside your own mind. And once you recognize where those whispers truly come from, the entire direction of the war changes. Your freedom is closer than you think. For most people, a bed is a sanctuary, a place where the world fades away, the body unwinds, and the mind finally loosens its grip on the day. But for you, chosen one, the bed has become something far more complicated. It's no longer just a place of rest. It's become a war zone, a hidden battleground where your greatest spiritual attacks occur. When the lights turn off and the world grows quiet, when the noise outside fades into stillness, that's when the whispers begin. The enemy does not always shout. Sometimes he speaks softly, slipping into the quiet spaces of your mind, using your own thoughts as his disguise. He knows that nighttime is when your defenses are lowest, when exhaustion strips away the armor you've worn all day. And so he waits, strategically, patiently, to strike in silence. You felt it. The shift in atmosphere the moment your head hits the pillow, the uncertainty, the heaviness, the sudden rush of thoughts that don't feel like your own. You're not enough. You're falling behind. You're a burden. God has forgotten you. These lies don't come in thunder. They come as a whisper that blends with your own internal voice, making it harder to identify, harder to resist. And lying there in the dark, with nothing but your own heartbeat ringing in your chest, those whispers feel painfully believable. The bed becomes a cage, the blankets feel like chains, and the silence grows so loud it becomes suffocating. Fear grows teeth in that silence. Anxiety wraps itself around your ribs like a vice. Depression drapes itself over your chest like a weighted shroud. And suddenly, the place where you're supposed to rest becomes the very place where you feel most trapped. No one else sees this war. No one else witnesses the invisible tug-of-war happening beneath the sheets. To the world, you're simply lying down. But spiritually, you're wrestling with forces that are determined to suffocate your purpose. But here's what most people don't understand. You're not lying there, doing nothing. You're resisting. Every second you remain alive in that bed is a fight against darkness. People look at you and think you're retreating, but heaven sees you holding ground. While the enemy uses the stillness to torment you, he didn't expect that God would meet you there too. Because God doesn't wait for you to rise to reach you, he enters the battlefield right beside you. Yes, right there. At the edge of that very bed sits the same God who parted seas, calmed storms, and raised the dead. He does not recoil from your trembling. He does not chastise you for your fear. He simply stays, present, watching, guarding. He's been catching the tears that no one else sees, the ones that slip silently into your pillow, the ones you wipe away, quickly, hoping no one hears you break. He heard the whisper when you said, "God, I can't do this anymore." He saw the moment you curled into yourself, wishing for peace you couldn't find. He heard the breathless cry you didn't even speak out loud. And he stayed. Not because you earned his attention, not because you prayed perfectly, but because his presence is not dependent on your strength. It is drawn to your need. Sometimes the most powerful prayer is not a shouted declaration. It's a tear that falls without permission. It's the sigh you release when the weight becomes too much. It's the way your body curls in fatigue while your spirit whispers, "Lord, help me." These are prayers heaven responds to with urgency. And while you lay there unaware, angels were dispatched to fight battles you didn't even know were raging. Some of the heaviest nights you endured were not signs of abandonment. They were signs of protection. Nights when the enemy tried to suffocate you with despair, but the hand of God held back the final blow. Nights when your mind spiraled into places that felt bottomless, but God placed a boundary the enemy could not cross. Nights when you thought you were losing, but heaven considered it a victory because you survived the onslaught the enemy hoped would destroy you. Your bed, chosen one, is not merely furniture. It has become an altar. Proof of where you met God in your most vulnerable state. Proof that even in the war zone, he didn't leave. Many people think altars are made only of stone or wood, but sometimes an altar is made of tears in a pillow, cries in the dark, and battles fought with no witnesses. You survived nights where your spirit felt shredded. Yet every morning you opened your eyes, heaven marked it as a triumph. Because here's the twist most people never understand. The place where the enemy whispers the loudest is often the same place where your purpose is being quietly forged. While darkness tries to torment you there, God is molding you there. While lies try to drown you there, truth is awakening in you there. While fear tries to consume you there, resilience is being born in you there. The enemy targets you at night because he knows what mornings you are destined to walk into. Don't underestimate the war that happens between the sheets. Don't dismiss the spiritual combat that unfolds in silence. What feels like isolation is often initiation. Every chosen one must walk through the hidden training grounds of darkness to develop the light they are meant to carry. The nights that felt like breaking points were actually birthplaces. Birthplaces of strength you didn't know you possessed. Birthplaces of discernment that will guide your future. Birthplaces of fire that will burn away old versions of yourself. And in the next part of this message, we'll go deeper into your sensitivity, why you feel things others can't explain, why emotions hit you harder, why atmospheres shift around you, and why your spiritual wiring often leaves you drained. Because what you call sensitivity may actually be the very key to unlocking your divine assignment. You've walked into rooms and felt the atmosphere tighten before a single word was spoken. You've stepped into conversations and felt the undercurrent of tension that others were blind to. There have been days when you woke up with a heaviness that wasn't yours, a sadness you couldn't explain, an anxiety that descended from nowhere, a spiritual weight that seemed to cling to your chest even though nothing was wrong. And for so long, you've wondered silently, what is wrong with me? Why do I feel so deeply? Why do things hit me harder than they do other people? But hear this truth with your whole spirit. There is nothing wrong with you. You are not too emotional. You are not overreacting. You are not fragile. You are spiritually wired, crafted by God with an inner sensitivity that allows you to see, sense, discern, and perceive things the average person will never notice. You are not just a feeler. You are a discerner. You are prophetically tuned. And because you carry a heightened spiritual antenna, you pick up the signals, shifts, and vibrations that others walk right past. This kind of sensitivity is not common. It is not accidental. It is a divine design. Think of Samuel, a boy serving in the temple who could hear God's voice in the silence of the night when others were sleeping. Think of Daniel, who could sense spiritual turbulence before kingdoms shifted. Think of Joseph, who dreamed dreams that revealed the movement of heaven long before events unfolded. People mocked them, misunderstood them, questioned them, yet God used their sensitivity to change nations. What the world calls too much, heaven calls chosen. Your ability to feel deeply is not a curse. It is a spiritual signal. It's why you are drained by shallow conversations. It's why surface-level interactions feel empty to you. It's why gossip, chaos, and noise feel suffocating. Your spirit wasn't built for the superficial. It was designed to perceive what is beneath the surface. You sense the oppression hidden behind someone's smile. You detect the sadness tucked behind someone's laughter. You feel the spiritual warfare in places that others assume are harmless. You don't just walk into atmospheres, you shift them. But with that gift comes a weight, because when you feel so much, you often end up carrying emotions that aren't yours. You mourn over things others laugh about. You intercede for people who have no idea you're fighting on their behalf. You walk away from interactions feeling drained, not because something is wrong with you, but because your spirit absorbed what others ignored. And while people around you might dismiss your experience, heaven sees every moment of it as purpose. You're not overwhelmed because you're weak. You're overwhelmed because you're spiritually awake in a world that is spiritually asleep. Your senses are sharper. Your discernment is louder. Your heart picks up whispers others drown out. And because of that, you often retreat, not because you're broken, but because your soul needs relief from the overload. When you isolate, people assume you're withdrawing, but spiritually you're decompressing. You're clearing your atmosphere. You're recalibrating your spirit in a world that overstimulates it. Rest doesn't always fix you because sleep doesn't clear spiritual downloads. Only presence does. Only time with God quiets the noise you've absorbed. Only His voice brings clarity when your spirit has picked up too many signals in one day. It is why you crave silence, why you long for solitude, Why being alone with God feels more real than being surrounded by people. Because the Holy Spirit speaks your language. Your sensitivity is not a flaw. He needs to fix, but a tool he uses to guide you. The enemy knows this too. He fears it. Because your sensitivity makes you dangerous to the kingdom of darkness. You notice attacks early. You detect deception before it appears. You sense danger before it manifests. While others walk blindly into spiritual traps, you feel the alarms in your soul. Your spirit reacts before your mind can explain it, and the enemy hates that. So what does he do? He tries to convince you that your sensitivity is a weakness. He tries to overwhelm your senses. He tries to drown you in emotions that don't belong to you. He tries to make you numb your discernment. If he can get you to silence your sensitivity, he can dull your spiritual weapon. But if you ever fully embrace what God has put inside you, if you ever take your sensitivity as seriously as heaven does, the enemy knows you will become unstoppable. Because sensitivity is how heaven speaks to you. It's how angels guide you. It's how the Spirit warns you. It's how God reveals what others can't see. You weren't created to blend in. Ordinary people don't feel the shift in the room. Ordinary people don't wake up weeping for nations they've never been to. Ordinary people don't intercede for souls they've never met. Ordinary people don't break down under burdens that don't belong to them. Only chosen ones do. Only those spiritually awakened, spiritually attuned, spiritually assigned feel this deeply. Yes, it's exhausting. Yes, it's lonely. Yes, it's confusing. But it is also evidence of your calling. Evidence that God set you apart. Evidence that your spirit hears frequencies others miss. And one day, soon, you will understand why God wired you this way. You will discover that the sensitivity that once overwhelmed you is the very trait that unlocks your destiny. In the next part of this message, we will step into the final war you've been fighting. The war not just against darkness, not just against exhaustion, but against the temptation to give up entirely. The battle for your desire to keep going. And once you understand why this war has intensified so much lately, you'll see that your sensitivity was never your enemy. It was your compass. Your greatest rise is coming. Let's step into the part of the journey that most people avoid speaking about. The shadowed place of the soul where words feel too fragile, where emotions become too heavy to carry, where the heart whispers things the mouth would never dare say aloud. You know this place well. It's the moment you rehearse silently, the thought you buried under years of endurance, the ache you hoped would disappear if you just kept moving. It's that chilling whisper. What if I just disappeared? Not out of drama, not for attention, but because everything felt too loud, too heavy, too suffocating. You weren't searching for peace. You were searching for absence. You weren't longing for healing. You were longing for the ache to stop. There were days when even breathing felt like a burden. Days when your name felt foreign in your own mouth. Days when the world continued its rhythm while you silently wished for an escape hatch, a pause button, a way out of the relentless noise your mind wouldn't stop producing. You didn't want to die. You just wanted to stop feeling everything at once. And deep down, you wondered if anyone could sense the war you were drowning in. But listen carefully. That urge doesn't make you broken. It doesn't make you ungrateful. It doesn't make you weak. It makes you human. A human being who has been carrying God-sized weights on a soul that has been bleeding in secret. You've been the strong one for too long. The one who holds others together while quietly coming apart. The one who shows up, who uplifts, who prays, who encourages, even while your own spirit trembles under the pressure. What you have been experiencing is not simple exhaustion. It is spiritual isolation, a deep tearing inside the soul that chosen ones know far too well. It's the loneliness that comes from carrying burdens that are too divine to be shared casually. It's the weight of an assignment too sacred to be explained. People think you're fighting for yourself. but you've been fighting for generations. For your bloodline, for your future children, for the chains your ancestors couldn't break, for spiritual patterns no one else in your family had the strength to confront. You were born into warfare you did not choose, battles that began before you were even placed in your mother's womb. That's why the enemy waits for these moments of collapse. He doesn't need to destroy you completely. He just wants you to step aside, to walk away from the destiny he fears. Because the enemy knows your potential too. He sees your assignment. He recognizes your anointing. He knows the impact your obedience will have on the earth. So he pushes, not with chaos, not always with noise, but with whispers of hopelessness, with thoughts that sound like your own voice. He knows he doesn't have to kill you if he can convince you to stop fighting. But even in the darkest moments, even when everything inside you screamed to let go, something in you refused to die. Something flickered, something holy, a faint spark in your spirit that would not extinguish. Not a shout, not a dramatic burst of strength, just a whisper, an ember, a pulse. Something inside you whispered, "Not yet." Something breathed through your exhaustion, "Hold on." That tiny flicker is sacred. It is the divine imprint God placed within you before time began. It is the same flame that kept Moses alive when he fled into the wilderness. The same spark that kept David breathing when he hid in caves. The same ember that refused to let Job curse God even when his entire world collapsed. Scripture calls it the smoldering wick, the one God promises never to snuff out. And that's what you've been carrying, even in your darkest nights. A wick that refuses to die. You may not feel strong, you may not feel holy, you may not feel awake, but the fact that you are still here, still listening, still breathing, still searching for understanding, is proof that your story isn't finished. God didn't let the enemy extinguish you because there is something on your life that hell fears. Something in your voice, something in your presence, something in your destiny that darkness cannot afford to see awakened. You don't have to rise perfectly. You don't have to rise quickly. You don't even have to rise beautifully. You just have to rise willingly. Even if your hands tremble, even if your knees shake, even if your eyes are swollen from crying through the night. Rise anyway, because the enemy's greatest fear was never your collapse. It was your comeback. He feared the day your eyes would open again. He feared the day you would choose hope again. He feared the moment your spirit would say, "I'm not done." Because when a chosen one stands after falling, they don't rise as the same person. They rise with authority. They rise with revelation. They rise with a testimony that shakes the gates of hell. And what if I told you that the very moment you came closest to giving up was the moment right before heaven began to shift things in your favor? What if I told you the pressure wasn't punishment, but preparation? What if I told you that your near collapse was actually a spiritual rebirth happening in real time? Everything the enemy meant to suffocate you was actually exposing the depths of your calling. There is a reason your battles intensified. There is a reason your nights grew heavier. There is a reason your thoughts became darker. It wasn't because you were losing. It was because you were approaching the threshold of breakthrough. Darkness always fights hardest when light is about to emerge. In the next part, the final part, you will understand exactly what all this pain has been preparing you for. You will understand why the pressure has been relentless, why the warfare has been personal, and why God refused to let you disappear. Because your rise is prophetic, your comeback is ordained, and everything you have endured is the blueprint for the power you are about to walk in. Hold on. You are closer than you realize. Listen closely. If today all you could do was breathe, if your only victory was opening your eyes and whispering, "God, I'm still here," then understand something profound. You have already conquered what crushed others. Heaven saw it. Hell trembled because of it, and the earth felt it. When a chosen one rises, even if it's slow, Even if it's silent, even if it's fragile, something in the unseen realm shifts. The bed that once held your exhaustion is now the place where a warrior is awakening. You didn't survive these battles to go unnoticed. You didn't crawl through nights of torment, whisper prayers through tears, or fight invisible warfare for nothing. You weren't carried through hell just to return to hiding. That bed, your place of collapse, was never your prison. It was your proving ground. Every sigh, every tear, every night you felt your soul unravel was actually sharpening you, refining you, preparing you. What you mistook as breaking was really God bending you into the exact shape needed for your calling. The silence you sat in wasn't shame. It was a sacred cocoon, a hidden place where God did his quietest, deepest work. Think of Jacob wrestling through the night. His limp wasn't weakness. It was evidence that heaven had touched him. Think of Joseph rising from a prison cell to a palace. His years of obscurity were not punishment. They were preparation. Think of the prodigal son, stepping out of humiliation and into restoration. His return wasn't a walk of shame, but a walk into destiny. And now, chosen one, you stand in that same spiritual doorway. Exhausted, yes, but evolving. Drained, yes, but transforming. Bruised, yes, but becoming. God never left you in that bed. He sat beside you. He fought for you. He waited with you. And now, he rises with you. Hear this deeply. You are not lazy. You are not broken. You are not too far gone. You are becoming the version of yourself that hell tried to suffocate. Becoming the voice you once needed to hear. Becoming the light that walks into darkness and forces shadows to flee. Every tear you shed was a seed. Every silence was a sentence in your testimony. Every breakdown was a blueprint for your rise. You thought you were falling apart, but heaven was rearranging you. You thought the darkness was swallowing you, but it was making room for the light you carry. So when you rise, even if you stagger, understand this. You are fulfilling prophecy. You are walking in resurrection power. You are stepping into the identity God carved into your spirit long before time existed. The enemy fought your rising because he saw what was inside you before you ever did. Your feet may tremble when they touch the floor. Your hands may shake as you step forward. But the ground you walk on will remember the moment a warrior stood up again. The atmosphere will shift around you. Doors that were shut will begin to open. People who dismissed you will feel the difference in your presence. Darkness will recognize you, not as the weak one it once tormented, but as the threat you were always meant to be. Because now, everything shifts. Not tomorrow, not next year. The shift begins the moment you decide, I choose to rise. You rise not because you feel strong, but because your assignment can't wait anymore. You rise not because you have everything figured out, but because God has already prepared the way. You rise not because you are perfect, but because heaven is calling your name. Rise with the limp, with the trembling, with the fragments. Rise in pieces if you must, but rise in power. You are stepping into a new season where the very things that once broke you will become the foundation of your strength. You will carry wisdom forged in fire. You will speak with authority shaped by suffering. You will walk with discernment sharpened by darkness. And you will shine with a light that was birthed in your deepest nights. Your story isn't ending. It is unfolding. Your pain wasn't pointless. It was prophetic. Your survival wasn't accidental. It was ordained. What you endured didn't weaken you. It qualified you. Heaven has already recorded your victory. Now it's your turn to step into it. So declare it. Speak it aloud. Let all of heaven and hell hear your voice. I choose to rise. Type it below. Let your fingers become a prophetic act. Let your declaration echo into realms you cannot see. Because when you choose to rise, when you speak it, when you claim it, everything connected to your destiny begins to shift. And as you rise, Here's your reminder. You are loved. You are chosen. You are protected. You are needed. You are called. If this message spoke to your spirit, if it pierced through the confusion, if it stirred something deep within you, don't leave without responding spiritually. Like this video. Subscribe for more messages crafted for your journey. Comment below. I choose to rise. Let heaven take note. Let the earth witness it. Let hell tremble. Because you're not done. You're just getting started.